Farm Director here at Huber's Fortune Winery and Star Lake Distillery in Star Lake, Indiana. I'm also a member of the Indiana Growing Commission. We have spent 180 plus years farming this gorgeous land in southern Indiana, and I'd like to take you through a little tour of how you can create a tour for your own agritourism business.
Alright, so what do you think is the most important first step in building a farm tour?
The first thing you want to do is know your audience. So consider age, consider size of the group, consider their interests. If you're gearing things towards young children, only adults, maybe both. So for example, here at Huber's Fortune Winery, we have a segment of our tour program that's geared towards field trips for young children. So we have this beautiful space here set up for them in our farm park area, plenty of educational aspects. We have the life cycle of an apple and life cycle of a strawberry. We switch those out depending on what season we're in. We have an educational video for Johnny Appleseed and lots of other ways that children can become engaged without feeling like it's an educational process.
Think of different ways that you can actually engage your audience. So when school children come here, there's lots to see and do that they may have never done before. This right here is one of our favorite engagement pieces though. As the schools come through, we have an apple that's already been marked with the name of their school and the date of the tour. And we ask one of the children to put the apple up on the tree. It's a reminder for them, and if they come back with their friends and family, they can say, "My apple is on the tree."
So after we've defined our audience and the type of tour, what's next?
The next thing you have to have is a plan. So understand where you want to take your guests, what you want them to see, what you want them to experience while they're down there. Be sure to include spaces that they ordinarily wouldn't get to see on a regular visit, like our barrel room, where we can actually store the wine that's being aged on the farm, and include interesting ways to engage them. So for example, a cork display. If people on your tour have never seen what actual cork looks like and where it comes from, this is fascinating. And then a little piece of the history. So why you are there, why you do what you do. We actually have a Huber farm transfer and ownership family tree that demonstrates the past 184 years of Huber ownership on this very farm. The next thing you have to do is take a look at your property and take some very important considerations into mind. Safety, accessibility, usability. How are you going to move your guests around to see the things that you want them to see? And when you're thinking about that, you have to consider all of the different things. Who is going to be moving around? How many people are going to be moving around? What kind of safety considerations that you're going to have to think about to get them where you want them to go safely. So we do have some signage, certain pieces that are required by law. So agritourism notifications that if you don't already have, you'll want to make sure that you get. We also consider the space. So this is where we board wagons for our youth program. We want to make sure that it is a space that is free of vehicles, and the people that are going to be in here to board wagons have a safe place to gather themselves before they get on the wagon. Of course, the bathrooms are a consideration for your guests at all times. They're conveniently located right here at the beginning where you board the wagons. So once you have your plan in place of where you want to go and what you want your guests to see, walk that, drive it, do whatever it is you would do on the tour and see what they're going to see. You want to make sure that if they're going to be walking under the grasses, that you've got things properly mowed. If they're going to be looking out on the vistas, you don't want, for example, trash. So make sure things are cleaned up. Make sure that any signage, because, for example, this is a working farm with lots of vehicles going in lots of directions. Make sure that those places are carefully defined. If someone's walking, for example, down a vineyard, you want to point out the guide wires so they don't trip. Any sort of hazard, for lack of a better word, that your guests might encounter while they're out and about is something that you'd want to evaluate with your own eyes before you bring your guests out. One of the things that will make the visit more memorable for your guests is to remember where they visited. that's where your branding and signage comes in. So consider as you're walking around, adding pieces of signage, your brand logo, the Indiana Grown logo, to help the guests make a connection to their experience, and when they want to come back or tell their friends all about it. For us, that might mean the spirit safe that we make in the shape of our iconic star, Marshall Lake Distillery, where everything on our tour, from the very entrance to the rick houses, has that same logo repeated, so the guests remember it once they've left. Once you've laid the groundwork for your tour, make sure you get your team on board. Your team members are the ones that are going to be engaging with the guests, taking them on the tours, and letting them know what you want them to know about the property. So tell them what you want them to say to the guests. Make sure the spaces that they're going to be in are properly tricked out so they have everything that they need. Have their uniforms ready for them, so the logo that reinforces to the guests where they are, what they're doing. So for us, that might mean in our tasting loft, we have coolers with wine and spirits readily available. We have wine and spirits menus that can serve as a roadmap for the guests that are doing the tastings with the Tasting Loft Associates' help. Well, you've reached the day of the tour. You have everything in place. You know exactly what you're going to do, where you're going to go, what you're going to say, and what your guests are going to experience. Do a walkthrough to make sure that all of your spaces are ready for the tour. So for example, when we do our educational field trips in the fall for school children, we'll bring them straight up into our apple production line, which you see behind me. Now, right now, we've got different crates and bins and things stored around it because obviously it's apple season. But by the time apple season rolls around, we'll have it dusted off, running smoothly. We'll make sure that the area is clear so that as the school children come through, they don't trip on anything. We'll make sure that our team members are aware that we have a tour going on that day so that they can be somewhere that isn't going to be in the way, or they can be in the position that they need to be in. One of the most important things about the tour that you give to your guests is to consider where you want them to end up. It may be as simple as ending up in the same place that they started so they can easily get back to their car. But if one of your goals is to help guests understand what you provide and maybe they purchase some things to take home, make sure you're ending up at a spot where those things are readily available to them. So for us, that might mean our beautiful farm market, when we have produce in season, a fudge counter, our bakery, our hand-done apple cider. It might mean for a winery distillery tour, finishing in our winery space in the retail room where they can pick up bottles of wine and spirits to take home and enjoy.